Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we have Steve Rother coming on to talk about a lot of really cool stuff, including multidimensionality. We're going to have him on here momentarily. But first, we have to say hello to each and every one of you, including Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing a bronze medal tonight. Bar Madison, how you doing? Robert Lamoth and Anil, thank you for coming on in. Amy, how are you? And thank you for becoming our newest YouTube member. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much for your love and support. Paramarv, how you doing? Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, especially if you're trying to cross over into different dimensions. You need that lube to transition smoothly. So thank you, Mel, for the lube tonight. Melissa Nicole, how are you, my friend? T-Bone, my man, thank you for joining us. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. As we continue on with roll call here, Cosmic Joe is here. Cosmic Joe will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Mama Catherine, I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a great night, and I think you're going to enjoy this one, and I hope you do. I hope you do. You can let me know in the morning when you text me. All right, moving on. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Jessica McCreary, thank you for coming on in. And who else do we have? Creepy Pasta, nice to see you, my friend. Lisa Smith is here. Lisa Smith will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Scrolling on down, we got Paramarv, and who else do we have? Undead Jed. Thank you for coming on in. And who's next here? Let's take a look here. Let's say, Monica, how are you? Corey, nice to see you. Walter Kochabinski and Bobby Younts. Thank you for coming on in. Matthew Goodka, good to see you. Hi there, Pam Harris. And who is next on our list? Frankie B. And holy cow, I am Pam. I am Pam. I am Pam. I am Pam. That just makes me so happy. Oh, my goodness. Algaray over on Twitch, bench press 400 pounds 37 times to warm up for Steve's show tonight. We're going to have a good one, and he's jacked up for it. I am Pam. Commonwealth Andrew, how are you this morning? Benno, nice to see you. And who else do we have here? We have, hi there, Candy. How are you? I am Pam. See? I am Pam. Right there. I am Pam. Freaking love it. Trucker Andrew, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. And who else is here? Let's scroll on down a little bit, shall we? Scrolling on down. I am Pam. Emperor Penguin, nice to have you here. Oob to Joe's Main, you've got aliens. Yes, you do. And let's see who else is here. We are caught up just like that. Just like that. We are caught up. Let's get the radio side going. Hold on. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have a lot of fun here talking about multidimensionality. Steve Rother is here. You can find his website at steverother.org. I got tongue-tied there for a second. All of a sudden, I couldn't figure out how to speak. steverother.org is the website. We're going to have him break it all down for us here momentarily. We are in roll call on our YouTube side. And I think we're literally caught up to, there's Aussie. How are you? All the way from Australia. Yeah, that's why he's Aussie. That's why. Hey, we also want to remind you the Super Chat is open. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Hippie Deidre has joined us. Hello, Hippie Deidre. How's your Birkenstocks? Please let us know. And, of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can check it on out. Get yourself some really cool stuff. You will enjoy it, I promise. And, of course, you can also be like Amy. Join our YouTube membership. That works as well. Night Watch, how you doing? Or Night Drive, how you doing? Good to see you. It is that time of the night, everybody, where I ask you all a simple favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock, shall we?
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're up for an amazing show tonight. We're going to talk about multi-dimensions and so on. Can we travel to them? Where are they? How do they get here? Steve Rother is going to join us here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another spooky story. Follow that up. Robin Haynes will be here for the cryptid Q&A. So let's get right into it, shall we? Steve Rother is a renowned worldwide for his warmth, compassion, and down-to-earth wisdom. A gifted channel and teacher, he has a unique ability to make the unseen feel accessible, guiding people towards greater clarity, empowerment, and spiritual connection. With every message he shares, Steve invites listeners into a space of profound remembrance of who they are and why they are here. Oh my God, this just sounds so good. Often called the father of practical spirituality, Steve blends visionary insight with grounded guidance, helping people navigate personal transformation and collective evolution. His books, including Remember, Spiritual Psychology, and Crossing the Veil, are published in 18 different countries, 18 languages, and continue to inspire seekers across generations. This sounds like a good guy, doesn't he? Yeah, let's bring him on in. Steve Rother, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend?
Thank you, Dave. Or should I call you Pam? No, wait.
No, I am Pam. I am Pam. That's right. Totally, I am Pam. How you doing, my friend? You
I'm
doing
good. Well? I'm really good. Yeah, I'm excited about tonight. This will be fun.
It's going to go by so fast.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
Let us introduce you to our audience because, our audience is ever evolving. There's new people coming in all the time. How did this mystic channeling begin for you?
it was a total night and day for me. I was a general contractor in San Diego 30 years ago. And literally I had an awakening process. It was kind of a strange thing. I was not into metaphysics. I was not into woo-woo stuff at all. My wife was. So one New Year's Eve, we decided to go to one of her things with her church to kind of, support her a little bit. And something happened. And literally the group tapped me on the shoulder and I started channeling them. And my whole life changed. The construction business ended up closing. I ended up writing a book. The book was picked up, like you said, in 18 languages. That gave us the ability to actually travel to these countries, which my wife and I did for 15 years. We traveled to a different country every month for 15 years, with the exception of December. We stayed home in December. But it was a wild ride, unbelievable, the transformation from being a contractor and living that world to all of a sudden being a spiritual teacher. But it was incredible. And I still have to pinch myself once in a while to make sure it's here. Now, for me, everything has to be practical. It's real simple. So I don't teach meditation. I don't teach a lot of things. I take people through activations. I do things of that nature. But I basically, for me, everything's got to be very practical. So it's kind of practical magic for me. But they've been showing me so much about dimensionality that I'm so glad we got a chance to talk about it a little bit tonight, because it from what they've been talking about for many years now, our dimensions are starting to come back together. And that is confusing everything. So it's a good time to talk about it anyway.
Well, we will get into that at
Sure.
the next half hour, but I want to ask you something, because I think you said something profound, okay, that a lot of people getting into the spiritual aspect of everything
Right.
don't really understand. I think for a lot of people, when they get into the paranormal or the supernatural, or what we call the new age peace, love, and lighters, okay, I think what happens is they get so fully concentrated on the one brand of everything that they don't understand that the phenomena is much greater. And it sounds like when you went from, all of a sudden believing that this was happening to, all of a sudden losing your career in contracting, it was like the phenomena gave you a good butt kicking and said, this is what you need to be doing. You don't know this yet, but this is what you need to be doing. And the phenomena at times, as I've tried to explain, and probably not too well, always seems to be one step ahead, two steps ahead of where you are. And you may not like it. You're probably going to fight it. But in the end, the phenomena always wins. Explain how it happened to you.
Well, for me, it was actually a trigger event. Like I said, we went to this New Year's Eve thing that started for me. And I was just, these were my wife's friends. They were all into metaphysics. I wasn't. They were all using words like energy and all kinds of strange things that I use them all the time, but I didn't have a clue what those things were back then. So I showed up, tried to just make it through the night, and I was going to kind of hide behind her most of the night. Well, as soon as we walked in the door, they split us apart, of course. So that was a joke. But we ended up actually having a very good time, and they just wanted to talk about what we wanted to leave behind from the previous year and what we wanted to bring into the new year, because it was a New Year thing. Great. Went through the night, no problem. Met on the beach the next morning as the sun rose. And we were supposed to have this little ceremony where we take our stuff we wanted to get rid of, we throw it in the fire, and we read these new things to this rising sun. The leader gets up there, and right away he starts to read his stuff, and he says, "No, wait a minute, I'm being told Steve needs to go first." So I'm the one that's hiding in the smoke over there. So I come over and take the thing, and I can get through this real quick. No problem. I'll just read these things and get it over with and hold this up. And I don't know what happened to me, but the tears started flowing. And all of a sudden I couldn't speak. I couldn't see what was on the paper in front of me. I couldn't remember whether I was supposed to throw it in the fire, what I was supposed to do. I was just completely confused. And I became aware that the people around the fire they were all holding their hands up and sending energy, but I didn't know what that was. I could tell they were concerned about me. So after a few minutes, I just kind of got back in line. And the only words I could say was that I would be a light worker. I didn't really know too much about any of that, but that's kind of what happened. And that's the first time I heard from the group. That's the first time I felt that energy. And from that point forward, about 2 or 3 weeks later, I found myself on the computer getting all this download of information and typing just as fast as I can, trying to, not make mistakes because I'm a terrible typist, and just trying to get this information down, because I know that the longer I waited, the harder it was. So those were the first channels, and learning to trust it, that's the hard part for me.
I think we all struggle with that, because when you're being pushed out of your own reality and into another dimension, if we want to use the pun term there on that, okay, I think it's difficult for many of us to comprehend, that we're having to look within ourselves rather than using logic.
That's true. That's exactly it. So the energy is here. I wanted them to name it. This was 30 years ago. We had a few very well-known channels. We had, of course, Edgar Casey. We had Sept. We had Ruth Montgomery. We had other people that were very famous about channeling back then, but still there was this distance to it, and there was this fear around it. A lot of people were afraid that somebody's going to come in and take you over. Well, that's just complete nonsense, really. So anyway, I basically started bringing these in and having these weekly messages come in. And those turned into monthly messages, which I still send out 30 years later. I'm still sending out a monthly message from the group called the Beacons of Light. It's published in the Sedona Journal every month for the last 20 years. So literally, we've been really honored with the information, because my wife, she was probably my greatest critic in the beginning. She couldn't believe that her husband was suddenly bringing this information in, suddenly channeling, but the information changed her mind. She knew it was way beyond me. And what the group shares with us, they don't want to try and give us they don't want to give us an ABC, do this, do this, do this. What they want to do is they want to show us a bunch of different things and let us choose our own path. So they try to give us different views. And when we do a class on, we just did one on reverse aging. We've done different classes on different things. Every month we do we take a different subject and work with those in our online seminars. And it's fascinating because they keep changing it and keep evolving things as we go forward. But it's I don't know, it's getting really interesting now. But the fascinating part about it is this information. It just flows. I don't know how, and I believe we all channel. I don't think, I think we call it different things. I really do. The way we teach a channeling course is that everybody channels. Figure out your first form of channeling. First, start with the first one, and then see if you can try some of the other ones. But the artist sees something and he turns it into a painting or a sculpture, and the musician hears something and he turns it into a piece of music. So we all get these inspirations. I have tuned mine into a group of beings on the other side of the veil that feed me this oversight. That's kind
for
of
people who may not understand what channeling is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe give a quick definition of that.
I would simply say tapping into energies on the other side of the veil. In other words, what we would call heaven. They call it home. They try to stay away from some of the religious terms, because although the religious terms do represent very real things for them, they try to, keep out of one religion or another. So they call it home, because we're all from home. We're all part of each other. So anyway,
I got to tell you this. That just strikes home with me.
Good.
That strikes home big time. And let me explain why. My entrance into this entire phenomena was December 13th, 2011 at 7:45 p.m. I had a house full of people. My parents were over. I had a house full of family. And we were doing an early Christmas for my daughter, who is going to be on a Christmas cruise, a New Year's cruise with her grandparents on the other side. Okay. And so I was upset that my parents had announced that they were leaving early. And here's the reason why they were leaving early. They had to get home to watch Dancing with the Stars. And I wish that was, and it upset me so bad.
I'll bet.
Okay. Like, you were literally, I couldn't get it through my head. You were literally leaving your granddaughter's early Christmas to go watch Dancing with the Stars. And so I went into the other room, into my living room and dining room, which were connected. And I was collecting dinner plates because we did a turkey dinner and everything. And then I go, and my partner says to me, she goes, "Your mom's leaving. Why don't you come give her a hug?" So I put the dishes down and the cups down on the table, on our dining room table. And then I walked through the doorway to see my mom, who was on the other side. And as I went to cross the doorway, everything went silent. And I looked at my mom, and my mom's beautiful blue eyes were now jet black with white pupils. And I immediately knew that I was staring into the eyes of the angel of death. I knew it. Okay. And I immediately crumbled inside, and my mom kind of gave this look of shock on her face, like, "Oh, you see me." And she shook her head, and her eyes went blue, and the sound went back in the other room. That was my butt kicking into this. But where it gets a little bit interesting is I never knew what channeling was at all. Okay. Until a couple hours later, my partner says to me, because she's into all this woo-woo crap.
Right.
Okay. And she says to me, "I want you to sit on the couch and I want you to relax. And I'm going to light some white candles on the table here in between us. And I want you to tell me what happened." And as I started describing what happened, I ended up channeling the angel of death. And what you said, this is where it resonates with me. And you're the only one who has ever said this to me on this show. He said, "You were not supposed to see me, but because you did, I felt I owed you an explanation." My mom, who was a 2-time cancer survivor, was really ill from the radiation and the chemotherapy. And my mom, one of the things when my mom was going through that is she actually became addicted to the sympathy.
Yes.
So she would, I would call my mom to, sometimes you just need to talk to your mom.
Right.
And I'd call up my mom, and she'd answer the phone, "Hello." And I'd be, "Hey mom, it's me. How you doing?" "Oh, the pain, the pain." Right. And it would get to the point where it's like, I don't want to make that phone call. I can't talk to my mom. Well, the angel of death kicked me in the butt on that night. And he said through me, he said, "Your mom is very ill. If you don't start showing her more love and respect, I'm going to take her home." He did not say heaven. He did not say hell. He said,
Right.
"I am going to take her home." So when you said the fact that they don't mention a heaven or hell, that they mention home, I got the chills right up my spine just thinking about that, my man. So thank you for bringing that up and telling the story. So where is home? What is home?
Right. Home is who we really are. I believe, and I have my own beliefs. Everybody has their own, but basically, I believe we are all God when we are all together, when we're all connected. And I believe that's the other side of the veil. When we go, energy never dies. We know that from physics. It changes form. We burn electricity. We burn the lights. We think we use the electricity. We just turned it into heat and light. We turned it into another form. So the same is true with us. We evolve. We never die. We keep coming back. We keep evolving to to be able to do that. Excuse me, just a minute.
But let me elaborate on that
Sure.
while you're regaining. Here's my thing with that, though. When the human body dies,
Right.
it shuts down. So if the energy is eternal, okay, would it not be like a light switch that when the human body dies, it just turns off?
More like I would probably equate it more to a fluorescent light bulb. You turn it off and it doesn't go off right that second. It takes a few seconds to finally go off. But yes, it does go off. But that's just the physical body. That's not the spirit. I believe that we actually have a spirit that is infinite. It's not only infinite, but it's multidimensional, which is what is kind of confusing a lot of things right now, kind of adding to all the other craziness that we've got right now. We're starting to become aware of this multidimensionality in different things. And it's going to become really interesting because we really have very few clues about what this is. Our sciences know. If you were,
we also have very few clues on where the spirit goes.
That's
I mean,
true.
if you're religious, you would say heaven or Valhalla or wherever you feel
Brahma. Yep.
Wherever you want to, you think you're going, or is it like a ping pong ball where it's just bouncing all over the universe?
Well, that part I'm not sure I can answer, but I can tell you this from what they tell me about it is that we choose, we make choices before we come in as a spirit. We basically make contracts. We have things we've been working on over several lifetimes that we want to complete, or maybe we want to complete a relationship with somebody we've been working on for many lifetimes. So we make plans and we make these contracts on the other side of the veil. When we come in, we forget all about it. We have no clue, but all of a sudden we start pulling some of these things together. Now that we know takes place. So we know that we set a lot of these things up in some way, even some of the negative things that happen to us, because we can learn from them in different ways. But that's kind of the base of how we see the energy cycling and where we go. Now, when we actually go home and actually leave the physical body, it's almost impossible to describe, Dave. Let me give you one example. There's
Sure.
no time. There's no time on the other side of the veil. Time is an illusion we have here. So if there's no time on the other side of the veil, you can talk for probably maybe 2 or 3 sentences before you make a reference to time. You can't really understand because we don't live there. We live on the finite side. We live on the illusion of linear time, all the rest of it. But in reality, we only have this moment now. That's the only thing that's there. So when we focus on looking at that, living in that, and working with that aspect of it, but when you talk about the other side, it's really difficult to explain. I asked, do we know everybody on the other side of the veil? And they say, yeah, of course. They said, it's almost like here. In some ways, you have your favorite friends that you've incarnated with over and over. You kind of have your soul group that you tend to incarnate with from time to time. So yeah, there's a little bit of a safety there. So when you go home, you basically connect with everything. So it's kind of like this little baby finger knows that the thumb is on the same hand, but is different, but they're connected. It's hard to describe.
It is very hard to describe, and I don't blame you struggling for that. I really don't blame you for that, because I've seen the struggle. I've felt the struggle with my microphone over the years about this, but we're going to get into multi-dimensions when we return. SteveRother.org is Steve's website, so make sure you check it on out. This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, and we're going to bring you more of all of this weird, strange dimension talk next. All right, we are clear. There we go. Good start.
Cool.
Good start. All right. All right, we're caught up. All right. Perfect. Perfect. I love talking about this.
Good.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
It is. It is. Yeah, I got some questions I want to ask you too about that. About
Fire
your
away.
about
We
your
got time.
channel. About your channel with the Angel of Death. That can be fascinating.
I met him again.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. About 6 months later. My partner and I were at her. We got the phone call that her grandma was about to cross over.
Right.
And I went into the room with my partner for her to say goodbye. All the family's in there crying. I barely knew the lady, so I had no emotional connection to her, but she was a lovely, lovely woman. And the minute I walked into her room, I could feel his energy, the same energy that I had recognized from the incident with my mom. And I remember taunting him. And I was like, come on, show me where you are. I know you're here. Show me where you are. And I could feel his energy bouncing all around the room from,
Right.
up in the right-hand corner of the room, down to the bottom left, to standing beside the bed, to hovering over the bed. Like I just knew. And it was like a game. I'm like, come on, just show me. Show me. I know you're here. Why are you hiding? And about 9 minutes before Grandma breathed her final breath,
Right.
I was standing at the foot of her bed. My partner, I got my arm around my partner. She's crying beside me. And, we're standing like literally the edge of the bed is like an inch from my legs. And I'm standing there looking down at Grandma there. And all of a sudden I watched her spirit come out of her body. And it looked like if you took the shape of a football, but you stretched it out and it was all twisted and twirled. Okay. Like a ribbon would be wrapped around a football.
Interesting.
And, I want that for later. And I remember hearing in my head, is this what you wanted? Is this what it's all about? And then and it just kind of sitting there and I'm looking at it like I'm looking at you. And all of a sudden, boom, it shot through the ceiling. The spirit shot through the ceiling and his energy was now gone. Like it left with her.
Right.
And I literally said, holy shit, out loud. And I was like, but my partner looks at me and she's like, what's the matter? And I went out, I took her outside. I said, your grandma's gone. She's like, no, she's still breathing. We still have time. I'm like, no, she's gone. I just watched her spirit leave her body. And I was kind of giggling, laughing in amazement. Like I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to be rude, but here I was. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable that I just saw this with my own eyes. And and it was like that's the first time I ever saw someone die.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It
And
leaves an imprint. It leaves a massive imprint. And you never had any fear, right? There was no fear.
no,
Yeah.
no.
It-
But
yeah.
just
That's
the
it.
matter of fact, it's a bad voice in my head saying,
Right.
is this what you want? Is this what it's all about? And then shooting through the ceiling. Like, I will never in my life forget that.
That's
Ever.
amazing.
And that's where
amazing.
I was 100% conviction that there is something going through there. And there is, like, I'm a God guy. So to me, that was a heavenly move.
Right.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? We
Yeah.
got 5 seconds. Thank you, T-Bone, Monica, Creepy Pasta, and Kitty Caddywhack for the super chats. Here we go. Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us in as we're going to get into multi-dimensions now with Steve Rother, his website, steverother.com. Make that .org, pardon me. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. steverother.org is Steve's website. We're going to get into multi-dimensions here coming on up because, you know, there are many people, scientists included, who believe that there is a multiverse out there, that there are multiple dimensions running at the exact same time, some in the future, some in the past, some in the present, where we are today. We're going to learn all about that next. Steve, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, we have incredible opportunities right in front of us with the multidimensionality and the things that are taking place. Fascinating. When I talk about this many times, people kind of glaze over because it is a little technical. And then usually what happens is 5 minutes later, their eyes wake up and they start asking all these questions because it starts landing. So let me take it from the beginning and explain how the group explained it to me. They basically said, we're coming from home, okay, from heaven, whatever we want to call it. We're coming from our origin. We're coming in as a white beam of light, perfect beam of light. We hit this crystal. This crystal is what we call our higher self. And the crystal actually divides us very much like a prism. It divides us up into different colors. So we have a blue, we have a red and orange and so forth. There's 11 of them. So the 12 is actually the higher self. So there's actually 12 dimensions. And this is an illustration. The group actually says it's more complicated than this because they're infinite, but they want to give us the illustration of having 11 other yous. So you've got these different colors. They're all you. They're basically the same, but they're making different choices. Over here, you have one that's married. They've got 3.2 children. Over here, you have a devout, a single person. They're never going to get married. Over here, you've got other people that have really strong belief systems. They're very religious. Over here, you have an atheist. Basically, your spirit tries to get as much experience from exposure in different ways as you can. There's some fascinating things about this that the group has talked about. And it's just kind of, they're interesting to do. But the fascinating part is, as we are evolving, those walls between the dimensions are starting to fade. And we're starting to sometimes go to sleep at night and have such a vivid dream that it was you, but it had a different name, or you were married to somebody else, or you had different children. Those are actually dimensional shifts. There are times when you go into a REM sleep on the way up out of there. That's when many times you can actually go into one of these dimensional shifts and actually move over into one of your other dimensions and kind of switch places. That is happening more and more. It's always happened. So this has even happened to me as a kid. But the reality is it's happening more and more, and we're starting to be able to use it. The other thing that's starting to take place, you may have heard of something called the Mandela effect. Well, the Mandela effect is very real, but it's just a description of these walls thinning. Because when we think Coca-Cola is spelled a certain way, and yet they say, no, here's the evidence, it's always been, but over here in this dimension, it was spelled that way. So we're starting to blend a lot of these things together, which is part of the reason we're having difficulties finding a common truth or common truths that we've worked with as societies before. We're having challenges with some of that as a collective, partly because of these dimensional walls fading. But anyway, that's the basis of the dimensions, the way the group likes to describe them. And there's all kinds of fun things about it. One of the really fun things about it is any really big decision you've had to make in your life, where you had to weigh things out and you wanted one or the other, but you couldn't figure it out or they were close. When you took one, another one was taken by one of your other dimensions. So you got to experience it all anyway. And when you come home, you come to the higher self, all of that stuff comes back together, and you basically integrate that into your, what the group calls your core personality, which is who you really are. You share certain things with all dimensions. You share the same sense of humor. You share the same outlook on life, the same, the sense of who you are, and so forth. So anyway, there's a lot of things that you do share, but it's a fascinating way to look at this. And now, one of the reasons that this happens is because the group says that on planet Earth, perfection is not allowed. So in other words, we can get close, but we can't actually get perfect here. It doesn't work. So what we do is when this white light comes in, we divide it up into all these rays and we hide our perfection in a little bit of each one of these. And that's an exciting thing. If they're coming back together, we're basically gaining power. We're basically starting to gain back some of our original perfection as these walls fade. Interesting.
It is very interesting indeed. I mean, many people believe, and science hypothesizes that there are many of us, many Steve Rothers, many Dave
Correct.
Scotts out there, many of every person listening to this show tonight, living on these different timelines or in these
Correct.
different dimensions. I mean, are we the same person right through these multi-dimensions?
The core of us, yes. The core of who we are. We're all all 11 are working on the same life lesson. We're working on the same energies. So we're all a little bit imperfect, working on, our things and have our contracts set up. But the reality is, yeah, we're all working in slightly different ways. And when you start to see that, there's some fascinating things that we can actually do. You can even program yourself to do that at night. You can basically tell yourself that you want to do that before you go to sleep at night. And it triggers it. It may not work every night, but for the most part, you can basically trigger your own awareness in your REM sleep to actually shift dimensions. There's a lot to this. We know that the electromagnetic spectrum, if I was saying it's 3 feet long, the electromagnetic spectrum is 3 feet long. The visible light spectrum is so small you could barely see it. So we know we live in a very small world. We don't see many things. It's more than just ultraviolet and X-rays and so forth. It's the reality is that there's whole worlds that could be living right next to us in different vibrational ranges. Look at the example of cell phones. How many cell phones are on this planet? And they all have a different frequency. Isn't it interesting that we don't blend over into somebody else's frequency? There are so many of them. We can literally do that. And that's very similar to these dimensions. They're on different frequencies. And there's also beings that have learned how to shift dimensions. And I actually think that some of these are what we call ETs. The group calls those, not all of them, because many of them are extraterrestrials coming from specific other planets. But some of them actually live right next door to us, and they've learned how to shift their vibration, learned how to show up in our world. They talk about the spaceship that disappears. That's exactly what a dimensional shift would look like. That's pretty much what it would look like. So, yeah, we have a lot of things that we're going to be learning very soon, and they're all tied in with the ETs, with our visitors, everything else about the fact that it's becoming more popular. It's becoming more. Everybody's becoming aware of it, except for the government. So they're playing, their little work with it. But the reality is, we're all changing, and we're getting ready to step into a whole different world. That's what it looks like.
Is humanity ready for something that drastic?
We're seeing the pull. We're seeing the craziness go on kind of right now. The chaos is, the group says the systems are the slowest things to move. They're the slowest things to change. So when humanity actually evolves and raises their vibration, the systems are the hardest part. The banks, the politics, the governments, all the things that are set into motion, those systems. And those we're seeing a lot of challenges with right now. We're seeing governments take over in different parts of the world. We're seeing political shift of power in the world. We're seeing a lot of things take place that we never thought we'd see, and it's all happening in our lifetimes. That part of that is because everything is starting to come back together, and a lot of these things are opening up in different ways. And I don't think we all see it yet. So I don't think we see that we can actually take this power and use it in our own ways, but that's coming very soon. I really have, Dave, I've got a lot of faith in humanity. I just think we're going to hit the pendulum's going to hit the wall and come back the other way. And not that it needs to swing one way or the other, but somewhere in the middle would be very nice. And I think that is coming as far as how we can live on planet Earth together and stop being so separate all the time. Start to emulate what it's like at home where we're all connected. The group says we're all connected anyway. We just can't see it. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? I hope that is true. I think that is a very utopic idea of happening. I think there's way too much, without getting into politics, there's way too much political strife and identity politics that continue to be played. You can't be a fellow brother or a fellow sister to our fellow humans if people in power keep pushing you into a situation that you don't want to be in. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I mean, I would love to see it. I don't have as much faith as you do in it because, I mean, you don't forget, in that type of thinking, in a lot of cultures, you'd be considered a witch.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. Which
I'm
means
okay with that.
In a lot of cultures out there, more than half of this planet, studies under some religion.
Right.
That you, no offense, Steve, you'd be a dead man for thinking about that. Dead man walking.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I have no problem with that. But you see, the way I see it, I believe that the religions were channeled. Moses went up to the top of the mountain. What did he do? He came down with the 12 commandments. Where did he get that? It was given to him. That's what I call a channel. Copernicus walks outside one day, looks up at the sky, decides that maybe the earth isn't the center of the universe. Maybe the sun is, and everything changes. Where did he get that idea? That's an instant channel. Einstein did the same thing. So did Niels Bohr, who came up with quantum physics. Einstein used to have a rock. He used to have his favorite chair, and he had this rock. They showed it in his library, and he would sit there and try to go to sleep with that rock in his hand. And when he went to sleep just enough to go into an alpha state, he'd drop the rock. He'd wake up, and then he'd look at the problem that he was working on, and he'd get inspired. So it was his way of channeling. I do believe that when we learn how to tap in to these things, we get things beyond ourselves. That's what channeling is. So that's kind of, I think it's been around. I think it's been around for a long time. I think Jesus was a channel. Jesus kept saying, you can do this and more. That was one of his great messages. Everybody can do what he did. That's what he was saying. So yeah, I think it's been around for a while. Now there is absolute fear about it. There's a lot of control about it, isn't there? Nobody wants competition, and I don't want to be a savior. That's not the idea. I'm not here to tell people which way to turn or what to believe. We're here to give people a different view. That's the whole purpose.
These other dimensions,
yeah,
where are they?
That's a really good question. I can tell you a little bit of what I've experienced and what people have told me. I don't believe they're actually on the physical earth that we are on. There may be some to where we can actually run into another you. That is possible, but that's not common. When we get into other vibrational ranges, I've been told things like people would get into this contraption. It wasn't a car, it wasn't a bicycle, but it was common and everybody drove them around. So there were different things entirely that world had evolved into, but they were both roughly the same time frame, roughly the same age and so forth to be able to work with that. But it was kind of interesting to see just where that was and what they were looking at. But and the whole channeling thing, that was one of my greatest fears in the beginning was, am I going to be taken over? Are they going to make me do something nasty or evil or something? They laughed hysterically. I laugh about it now. So yeah, but that's the typical fears.
I'm going to slightly disagree with you on the answer of the multidimensions not being on this planet. Sure. And I only know this from a personal example. Okay. Where I live right along the original Gold Rush Trail. And in fact, about 3/4 of a mile behind my studio here is the original Gold Rush Trail that started in Virginia City, made its way north, and literally right past my house and my studio, all the way up towards, the Klondike. One day we were ghost hunting on that trail, and we actually came across a couple in spirit form, a couple. Right. And to this day, after that, how can we put it? That conversation that we had with them, they were on their way up towards a town called Barkerville, which had a large Chinese population back in the mid 1800s, right up until about 1940, 1950. And they were on their way there. And this was at night. And I said, well, if you just go down to the bottom of the hill, there is a post house there that you can stay at for the night. You can feed your horses, so on and so forth. And they continued on their way. And it made me wonder at that point, were we the ghosts to them?
Yeah.
Or were they the ghosts to us? And in that interaction with what we were able to get, and there were 9 of us there witnessing this, it really made me wonder if our dimensions crossed paths and how were they seeing us? Because on their timeline, which was equal to ours, okay, they were making their way. And here's the other weird part about it, Steve, that I can't explain. We were standing on the trail. We said goodbye to them. Okay. And yet all of our K2 meters that we had were going off still on red for about 5 minutes after. And we're like, they haven't left. They have not left.
Right.
And then I figured out that, okay, hold on. we're blocking the path. These people probably have horses and a trailer, and pardon me, a carriage with them. So I got everybody to move on either side of the trail. Okay. And as we opened up the trail, they started walking, and the K2s from the furthest right to the front all went from bright green or bright red down to green, which was they are no longer there.
Amazing.
9 people experienced that.
Okay, so that would be a dimensional wall shift. That's
Yes.
it. That's exactly it. And that's the way the group talks about it. They said many times, and in our Light Master course, we have our highest level course. It's called Light Master. And every week that we come together, we do exercises for the peripheral vision, because many times you can see into other dimensions like you did, not as clear as you did, but you can learn to start seeing into other dimensions with working with your peripheral vision. So those are some things we're also working with as well. But I think that's exactly what happened to you. You had a lot of clear vision, though. I mean, there was a lot of crossover there. So that's really cool.
Yeah, this was real-time communication.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't hear them, we couldn't see them.
Right.
But in the communication with our devices, that's how we were getting the answers to our questions to tell a story.
Cool.
And it just made me wonder, well, hold on here. Who's the ghost?
Well, that's it. Yeah, that exactly. And that's exactly what the group says about it. They said, you see these shadow figures and you're actually looking at, I used to do this. My wife used to be standing there. All of a sudden I'd walk in and she'd come home from shopping and she'd be holding ice cream that'd be dripping on the floor and just standing perfectly still. I'd say, honey, what's the matter? And she said, I'm seeing the shadow figures. Don't move. So she'd be looking at these figures that were moving out of the corner of her eye, and she'd watch them move, and she learned to be able to do that. The funny part about it is they were probably doing the same thing. They were probably saying, honey, don't move. I think I'm seeing some shadow figures over there. So yes, we are probably the ghosts sometimes to other beings as well. Not all the time, because I do believe in ghosts, and I do believe that those are residual spirits. I don't actually believe I see it a little, again, the group shows it to me a little bit different, but I do believe there's a difference between actually experiencing a hole in the dimensional wall and experience yourself or others in other dimensions versus a ghost. The imprints from the ghosts are quite different.
Yeah, I can't believe it at times. I really cannot believe where this is going or what this is all about. I mean, these dimensions that you talk about, I mean, there could be hundreds. I mean, we think there's only 12.
No, they give us the illusion of they have to put it in words we can understand.
Right.
They're infinite. We can't understand infinite. That's the problem. We can't actually conceive that.
With 90 seconds before we go to break,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. If we die in one dimension, do we die in all dimensions, or do we keep going in those other dimensions?
No, we generally die at the same time. You ever seen all the people that have NDEs?
Yes.
Near-death experience, and they're told they have to go back because it wasn't time? It's because their other dimensions weren't ready. Happens a lot.
I never thought about it that way.
Happens a lot. Yeah, that's part of it. And now we also have time travel possible, which is because there's no time on the other side of the veil. So it's really difficult to put into words we can completely understand, especially in 90 seconds.
That is, you know what? That just kind of blew my mind a little bit here. That whole statement just kind of blew my mind a little bit right there, and I'm not sure I like it. No offense, but it just seems very, very weird. And you know what? When we get back from the break here, I wanted you to tell us about the group.
Sure.
What is the group? You've mentioned the group a number of times already in this first hour. And I can't believe that I haven't asked you yet what the group or who the group actually is. Steve Rother, we have him for another hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We are having a great conversation on multidimensionality. We're going to continue with this conversation. We're going to try and fit in some audience questions as well. Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio is next. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. Steve, I'm going to put you in the green room. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Oh, good. Good.
Be right back. Be right back, everybody. All right. I am back. How you doing, Steve?
Good. We missed you.
Thanks. Still having fun?
Yeah, having a ball.
Erica
Having a
Stover,
ball.
thank you for becoming the latest member of our SOR chat, or YouTube channel, pardon me. Thank you very, very much. I got some good sleep last night. I was so worn out yesterday.
Why were you worn out?
Oh, I worked 2 jobs. So I was worn out for my daytime job. Yeah. Yes, Robin Haynes is on tonight after Steve. Pilgrim, how you doing? Good to have you here. A big thank you tonight to T-Bone, my man, Monica, Creepypasta, and Kitty Cattywhack for the great super chats. Signs of Life, how you doing? And what do we got here? Jeff, I don't know how I do it either. I would love to slow down. I really would. I'd like to have one job, and I think you know which one it is. Seven Systems, how are you? And here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We're so glad to bring you these weird, strange topics on a nightly basis as we talk multi-dimensions with Steve Rother tonight on the show. But first, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Sabulinarium. Sabulinarium is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get back to our guest, Steve Rother. His website, steverother.org, and we're talking dimensions here. What is going on in all of these dimensions? And he talks about the group. Who is the group? What is the group? Steve, I'm going to let you answer that one.
That was my question. What is this? Where is this coming from? When I first started getting these messages, we call them channels, they came through with an incredible energy. I wanted to know where they were coming from. Someone told me that if your spirits won't tell you who they are, they must be the bad guys. So, so I asked them, I said, okay, who are you guys? What do I call you? How do I say this information's coming through? Because I was starting to write some information. I became aware that there was multiples. They weren't a single entity. That was the only thing I could do. They came back and basically said, we don't want to give you a name because names are for humans. And basically we want you to take the information for the value and the love content of the information and not because of a label. And I said, okay. So I kind of like tied both hands behind my back, and I ended up calling them the group because there was multiples. I knew very little about what it was. They told me there was 8 of them and 1 of me. There was 9 in the group. So that's about all they told me. And then later they told me that they were from what we call the angelic realm. Again, they have a little different view of a lot of different areas, but there are different levels, I guess, of vibration, basically. And they basically said they're from what we call home. They're from that side of the veil. And none of them have ever been to Earth, but they are creatures of the universe, and they have some very fascinating ways of looking at things. That's the part for me. And they don't, it's not like a belief system. It's not like a religion where you have to look at everything the way they look at it. They encourage everybody to come to their own conclusion. look at it this way, and then take a look at this, and then let's look at this from this aspect. And that's kind of how they've been presenting things. Again, my wife was probably my biggest critic in the beginning. She passed about 4 years ago. She graduated. But in the beginning, when I first started, I was in construction, for crying out loud. So, one day she wakes up with this construction guy, and the next day I'm channeling entities. So fortunately, she was very metaphysical and she was able to understand it. She was also a little jealous that she'd been studying all these things, and all of a sudden her husband is doing it and she isn't. So there was, we had a lot of things we had to work out in our relationship, but we did. And we ended up spending the next almost 25 years together, traveling all over the world with this stuff, speaking 5 times at the United Nations, channeling, sitting down and actually bringing the group through at the United Nations 5 different times. The connections have been incredible. And the acceptance is probably the best thing. It's the thing that really impressed me. I believed that there would be people that wanted to look me up and see what kind of credentials I have without having any credentials or something. They'd dismiss it. But the information is really there. And that's the empowerment part. If we can empower each other, that's what the group is after. Because then we can all live in a much different society. We can all step into a much higher place if we are aware of each other instead of separating each other. We talked about politics before. The group says, if you're on one side or the other, you've been separated, plain and simple. So, yeah, it's confusing. It's absolutely confusing. But it's kind of where we are right now with the group. As far as who they are, where they are, I can tell you they are creatures of the universe. They're very high level, meaning that they have worked. I don't quite know how that works. I'm not quite sure I can put words to it. Again, it's so different on that side of the veil, but they are a specialty, and each one of the group has a different specialty. In recent years, they've started coming in as the individuals. We have the Keeper of Time. We have Ilra. We have M. We have a couple of feminine ones. We have Merlia, who is the feminine energy of the Merlin energy, bringing in the feminine magic. And then we have Xandria, all about rising the feminine energy in society. We have Ilra is the rhythm master. So we have different aspects of them. We have the scientist of the heart who brings in. I'm very technical myself. I love to build computers and study physics and so forth. And especially with what the group shows me, especially with quantum physics, it matches a lot of the things the group is showing me. So there's always another aspect of it there. And like you said, going back to multidimensionality, almost all astrophysicists call it the multiverse. They don't talk about the universe anymore. They literally call it the multiverse. Because and in quantum physics, it's the only way it works out. If you put it into 11 dimensions, everything kind of comes together. So it's kind of neat. So anyway, we'll see. But this is going to be some crazy times of transition. But as far as the group is concerned, they're a personal entity of mine that they have been, they saying, with me for several lifetimes. So apparently we've done similar work over several lifetimes in some way. I don't know. Again, I have no memory of any of that. I was fat, dumb, and happy as a contractor. I thought I knew what I was going to be the rest of my life, and then everything changed. So,
well, would you say the group is your spirit guides, or would you say that they are a different life form altogether?
I think they're a different life form altogether. Spirit guides are very special guides. Again, when you're home, you're all part of anything, but two that are very, very close to you, so close in vibration that you don't even know they're there most of the time. but most people have a couple of very special spirit guides that travel with them all the time that try to help. They shout in your ear to turn right, and then they watch sadly as you turn left, that type of thing. But basically, they're there. Those are different than the group, because that was the first thing I asked them. Are you my spirit guides? And they said, no. I said, that's not the case. I said, we are from a different level of vibration, and we have, they have some very interesting things that they work with. We work a lot with the vagus nerve. It's part of the parasympathetic nervous system, half of the autonomic nervous system. They say we actually receive energy through our vagus nerve. It's how people channel. It's how people pick up other people's energies sometimes. So we actually, in our Light Master class, we actually do vagus nerve exercises all the time, breathing exercises and other exercises to work with our vagus nerve. There's a lot of things that are taking place. Pineal glands, it's getting exciting. It's getting exciting. And it seems to all be kind of coming together at once. It's probably the dimensional shift that we talked about.
Are they always with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. I lead a normal life. I walk down the street, I'm Steve. And yet, if I stop and ask, they're there. Now, they told me a long time ago they weren't going to open doors for me. I'm still going to have my life. I still have to make my choices. I still have to pay my consequences, do whatever I'm doing. And they would assist me when it was for the benefit of the large group. They're here for all of us. They're not here for me personally. First question I asked him was, I wanted to know about the stock market. All of a sudden I've got these entities on my shoulder. I want to know a little something for myself. They laughed. They thought that was so funny that I would ask them about that. Anyway, I didn't get any help about that. But they're with me all the time. One thing that does happen is that they often plant seeds over a period of time. I'll be driving down the road, and all of a sudden I'll see a car pulled over here, and maybe a couple of cars, whatever the case. And the group will say, pay attention. So I look over there. I try to kind of take an inventory of what's going on, and then I just keep driving. That's all I need to do. And what'll happen is later they'll show me something else, and they'll say, pay attention. And maybe they'll do that 2 or 3 times. And then I'll sit down to do a live channel in either the Light Master class or one of the other classes, or even, I do a lot of free classes on YouTube as well. And all of a sudden they'll put these pieces together and they'll tell this beautiful story that really didn't have anything to do about these pieces, but they were able to plant things in my brain by me paying attention to these things. It's really strange how they do it to me. And I don't know if everybody else is the same. There's many ways that we channel, obviously. All right. I'm being guided to tell you something, so I got to tell you. Your channel is wide open. You know that every single one of us is going to die. Not only are we going to die, but we're going to experience other people's death several times during our lifetime. It is a profound experience. Why we're not teaching this in our grade schools, I don't know. Maybe one day we will. But you, sir, channel that beautiful channel. And there is some incredible energy that you can bring through if you decide to tell that story. And I hope sometime you do. It will flow through you smooth and easy.
Mm-hmm. I would say that you are correct. I can channel quite quickly. I don't practice my gifts enough. Number one, I don't have time.
Yeah.
Number two, I feel as a journalist and as a radio show host, I need to be a little bit more pragmatic.
Right.
But it also comes to the term where if I am with somebody who is connected, I go off like a Kmart blue light special.
Right.
You know, I really do. Like, I could tell you my one friend, incredibly intuitive. She's batting about 99% for me over the last decade. When her and I are together,
Yeah.
hanging out, if you want weird stuff to happen, we make it happen. It is, I mean, her and I can be standing there and she's like, hey, and we don't get together often. She lives about 3 hours north of us here. But when Samantha Mowat and I get together, things happen.
The doors open.
She's such a strong conduit. Then you add my energy to her,
Right.
and it explodes. And it doesn't matter whether it's UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, whatever it may be. Like, things hit the fan. And it's amazing what happens. Like, one thing that I've learned about me, part of my spiritual goal is that if I'm around people, I'm supposed to challenge them. Okay. Like, tell me how you're feeling. Okay. Now, when you saw that thing out of the corner of your eye, what did it look like? Don't tell me what you think it looked like. Tell me what you saw.
Awesome.
So I'm always trying to challenge people when I'm with them in order to explain to them that your first sight is always your real sight. After that split second of, say, you see a ghost walking over on your right or left, and you turn and look, okay, and there's nothing there. What did you see?
Yeah, but your brain will all of a sudden try to figure it out. You're right.
Absolutely. The brain tries to make a pragmatic answer.
That's correct.
And so I think, number one, I'm really impressed I've used the word pragmatic twice in the last 10 minutes, because I like using weird, different words. But I think that people all of a sudden tend to think, I don't have any intuitive ability. I don't have the power to do it. I don't know what I'm looking for. No, it's trust. You saw what you saw. Okay. Now just tell me what you saw, because your first reaction is your true reaction.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. We all have our stories. The group calls it a bodysuit. We basically pretend to be this person in the world. And because of that, it has our belief systems and everything else. So what happens is, when something really big happens like that, like we see something, or we see a ghost, or we see something even through the dimensional walls, all of a sudden the bodysuit gets involved and tries to pack it into our story. And, basically our story that we're creating. And it's really confusing, but you're absolutely right. To be able to just take that energy snapshot and go back to what you saw and not what you thought about it. Absolutely. Very powerful.
No, I think it's completely powerful and completely doable. And it's something that, all of us can do. I mean, we say that so much. Oh, it's something that everybody could do, but it's not that way at all. You have to be able to be open to it and trust yourself. I do have a question for you, because I think you're the guy to answer this question. What is your thoughts on this new age of intuitive ability? They call it new age, where, it's all about peace, love, and light, frequency, crystals, everything along those lines. What is your opinion on that? Is it just one stepping stone that people get stuck on? Is it good to bring people spiritually in, or is it just a bunch of
It depends on who you are and what you get out of it. The reality is, crystals are not going to make you a better person. They're not going to. It's just like anything else. You're a creator being. So if you believe, whether it's a crystal that you're working with, if you believe that crystal can heal you, it can heal you. If you believe that religions, you believe in a religion, that religion will be real for you. Absolutely. You're a creator being. The group talks about it all the time. They said when you go home, sometimes people want to see St. Peter at the gate. Well, guess what? St. Peter's actually there at the gate. You basically create your reality much more than we understand until we do go home, and then we start to see it the way it really is. But yeah, there's a lot to that.
I find, and maybe it's just me being nitpicky here, but I find a lot of these New Agers are not opening themselves up.
Well, there's extremes. Yeah. There's extremes. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I have a friend of mine who was taught kind of the New Age spirituality, and she is so much more powerful than when she gives herself credit for. And she doesn't know how to deal with that because it goes against everything that she has been taught by the New Age way of doing things and learning the spiritual guidance and the spiritual path and, you know, the chakras, because it's all about chakras and crystals. And yes, I'm being facetious when I say that.
But you're right.
But I'm trying to explain to her and to other people that I know that the phenomena is way more than what you are giving it credit for. It's like you've hit the brakes on what your abilities are because this is the new popular thing to do. You know, we're all trying to get balance. We're all trying to get spiritually, you know, zen, and it's all about our chi, and it's all about, you know, this tourmaline crystal is going to help me lose weight or whatever it may be, right? And I just think that people going down this path aren't fully understanding the practicality of what the phenomena is all about.
Well, you're right, and I do think it's exploding. I think you're seeing, you're about to see, from what I've been told from the group, we're about to see a whole nother wave of new energy people coming in. We hope to lose some of the words, obviously, because the New Age itself kind of brings with it all the overwoke, shall I say, the extremes, and the extreme situations become that becomes difficult too, because the idea is you can use all these tools, you can have these things, you can understand them, you can live by them, but if you give your power to them, then you're not moving into the metaphysical area. It's all about empowerment for us. It's all about working with those things. Now, if you want to use a tool for it, that's great. But if you lean on that tool all the time, the reality is you have those gifts inside. You're using the tools to find them. That's great. But let's don't overemphasize. I have been invited to go to speak at many of these big conferences where they have, all these big machines where they'll shine the colors on you. They'll heal you with the crystals. They'll read your auras. They'll do all those fun things. Those are fun things to do. And the people that are really into this, and they're starting to grow again, I have a lot of fun with that. But the reality is you don't actually need that to be spiritual. You are a spirit. If you look at yourself as that you have a part of you that just shines. When you laugh, you can see it. It leaks out every so often when you're in your passion, when you're laughing, when you're working with those things. And that spirit is inside of this physical body, trying to get out as often as possible and trying to work its way into your world as much as possible, trying to help with who you are. Now, that's not religious, but it is spiritual. And it could be religious. If you're a religious person, you just call it the religion. It's real simple.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to break here in about 20 seconds. And I want to just say, that if you want to check out Steve Rother's work, head on over to his website, steverother.org. There's a lot of great information there for you to follow. And you know what? Be your own spiritual being.
That's it.
Expand it. That's why I always ask the question, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? We'll be right back. listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Human Carl is here, everybody. Not alien Carl, human Carl. We appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, on the chakra comment, I knew I was wrong on that one because I know chakras have been around for thousands of years. I needed a word to fill in there, and that's the first word that popped into my mind. So forgive me on that one. Number 27 in your program. Actually, he was number 27 the other night. Let's go. Number 7 in your program, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson, everybody. There he is. All right. In about 4 minutes. Destiny Rocks, how are you? Yeah, my friend, she is, when people ask me for help, the first question I always ask them is, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
That's a great question. I love it.
Right? Because that question was asked to me by my personal guru. His name is Pascal. When he opened me up and I made the stupid mistake of saying, all the way. Just take me. All the way. Let's just do it and go from there. And the things that I have experienced and learned, I've probably, I probably can't tell you what I've learned, but I know I can do it all.
That's awesome.
You can. I can't like for instance, I can't tell you how to astral travel, but I know I've done it.
That's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. I feel that gives me the confidence to be able to actually teach some of these things that I didn't have any experience with before.
Exactly.
Exactly what's happening.
And I find it, excuse me, I find it really, like with my one friend who's struggling right now. Okay. And she goes, I don't know if I want to go down the rabbit hole. I said, that's perfectly your choice. That's your free will. I said, but you need to give yourself credit where credit is due. You're withholding yourself from some really cool experiences and knowledge that you have. I said, but I can't stop you. I'm not going to force you. And then I said to her, I said, I want you to go back and when you're meditating next, I want you to ask your guides, did you get the proper information from your teacher? They may have given you the school books to do it, but it doesn't mean that they taught you properly.
It's an awesome channel. That's exactly what channeling is.
Right?
All of a sudden you sit down to help somebody and this perfect thing comes out of your mouth. That's exactly what it is.
And I said, your guides will tell you whether or not you and I are going to work together. Your guides are going to tell you whether or not you got the right or wrong information. Maybe they gave you the right tools, but they didn't teach you how to use them.
Yep.
So I think it's just, it's a far greater concept that I think many spiritualists today forget about or don't fully understand. And they end up getting, I know in this lady's point, the group that she was working with ended up getting very cultish.
I think that's a human interpretation. I do. I think the human many times brings it in. They have to balance their own ego. I know I dealt with ego issues in the beginning. I mean, I grew up as a average person. I couldn't get laid in high school, just like most people, and never considered myself attractive. I mean, all of a sudden I'm on stage and I've got all these girls looking at me. Yeah.
Because you're a good looking guy. That's why.
I never thought that. I had actually women come up to me and tell me that they thought I was their soulmate in front of my wife,
Oh
with my
my.
wife standing there. So yeah, it
Hold
was
on
really
right there. We're
interesting.
coming back in 10 seconds. Thank you tonight to T-Bone, my man, Monica, Creepy Pasta, and Kitty Cattywhack for the lovely super chats. We appreciate the support. Here we go. Here we are in the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We're going to bring back Steve Rother. We have until the top of the hour momentarily. But first, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free. Head over to our YouTube channel, or you can listen in on any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, here is our good friend, Steve Rother. His website, steverother.org. If you want to check it on out, we highly suggest you do. Steve, thank you for being here.
Thanks. I'm enjoying this, Dave. It's an honor.
Oh, it's a great honor to speak with you as well. We've had a good time tonight. Let's get to some audience questions. We're going to start things off with Candace here. She says, when I had my NDE, I felt in my conscious mind I was gone for days. However, it was only minutes of energy, only transfers, never leave. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, basically you have no time on the other side of the veil. So when you step out of your body, you basically are in this transitionary period. So where you're kind of out of the timeline as well. Yes, that's very common. To come back and feel like sometimes days were gone and boom, you're right back. But that's what happens.
Man, that's exciting. That is totally exciting. All right, let's get to another question here. Let's go to Creepy here. I am a twin. Myself and my brother are extremely close. Is it safe to assume that we have spent our other lifetimes together as well?
Probably. Yeah. Being a twin obviously is an incredible energy of bonding. To be able to walk with that person in that lifetime. So you actually have to do that beforehand. You have to kind of break down some of those barriers. So when you're actually a twin, especially if you're a twin of the same sex, you basically have to figure out a lot of things before you actually get into that situation. When you're actually in that situation, you actually incarnate as the twins. From that point on, it's much easier. It's very rare that twins would have extreme arguments or be on the opposite sides of belief systems or things of that nature because of all those lifetimes of working together and kind of building their energies together. So it's really special. It's unusual. And of course, there's different levels of it. There's, depending on, how things worked and how long you two were together in the womb as well. So literally there's a real strong connection that can work with you, that you can use that energy for a lot of different things. So it all depends. And it doesn't mean you have to be best friends with your twin all the time, but you probably will be close no matter what. That's usually the case.
Polly is asking, could mental dealings like schizophrenia be actually people that see the multidimensional world in a daily basis? Reason why we can't understand them?
Absolutely. Especially if something were to open up and they go into fear. What happens? We're creator beings. When we are really afraid of something, guess what? We create it. It's real simple. And when you have a mental condition where you're on the edge, maybe bipolar, maybe schizophrenia, maybe anything that's on the edge of that nature, it can easily push you into it. It can easily, so it's very difficult to tell where those different lines are. But obviously, if you've had the challenge before, you pretty much know it at different levels. So that's the idea of mastery with that. I don't know if I actually. Yeah, I think I answered it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Here we go. Catherine is asking, if we are multidimensional, do we die at the same time?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's another reason. There's another reason why some people can't die. Some people want to go home. They want to get out of here. They're sick. They're in the hospital, whatever the case, and they can't. And they just can't go. And whatever takes place. Now they can commit suicide, but they also may not be successful. Most people that attempt a suicide are not successful. And that's because all of them need to leave at the same time. They're born in the same instant and they exit at the same instant. So there's all kinds of aspects of that you can work with. And of course, this is the groups. I know other people describe multidimensionality a little bit different, but this is kind of the group's other way of looking at it. But yes, that's one of the things. We all die at the same time. That's correct. That's why it's hard to leave sometimes too.
About it. I have a listener friend of mine who is a twin.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And about a year and a half ago now, her twin sister, and they're identical, twin sister said, I just don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. I'm not going to, unalive myself or anything like that. I'm just absolutely done. She went into a meditation, and it was like her spirit left her body and was replaced with another spirit to finish the journey. And her twin, who I know, is basically saying, my sister is still my sister, but she acts completely differently now.
Yeah, correct.
Have you heard of this happening before?
Sure, it's a walk-in. Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe Ruth Montgomery was the first to write about it. She wrote a book called, I'll think of it in a minute, but she basically wrote a book back in the 70s about walk-ins. And basically that's exactly what happens in times of sometimes severe depression, sometimes just a spirit being done. When the spirit is done, it's not about exhaustion. It's literally the spirit is just almost burnt out is a good way to describe it. And when that happens, it is entirely possible to switch places, to step out of the spirit step out altogether, to have another spirit step in with the agreement of finishing certain contracts, of completing certain things, being able to do things, and to be able to work with that. And then they become that person. And they usually take on the same attributes. They take on not the same personality, very close, but not, you know what I mean? They put on the same bodysuit that the other person had, but they're different inside. And a twin would absolutely know that because of the closeness and the connection to the twin. But that's exactly right. And that's a great way. There's no penalty. There's no exit point. There's no grieving for a person that committed suicide. She didn't have to leave in that way. She just stepped out. Perfect.
Polly is asking, telepathy tapes, autism and multidimensions, is there a connection?
There is a connection with the telepathy tapes. Autism, no. Autism is a different level of vibration coming in on all dimensional levels. In other words, our rise in autism since the 2000, huge, like 800%, whatever it is, massive. And it's that way in all dimensions. So that's something that's taking place in humanity. In some ways, there's some gifts here that we're just starting to unpack and see. So there are gifts in the autism that we learning how to anchor. There's a lot of difficulties with it too, obviously, but and there are some wonderful pieces here that are coming to humanity through the gift of autism. So yeah. So I think the two have a connection. but autism is a bit different. Yeah.
All right, let's continue on here. Jules is asking, what does the 9 have to say about people developing X-Men type abilities?
Absolutely, you can. This has become incredibly popular. If you look at all these superhero movies that have gotten incredibly, that's planting seeds in humanity. If you look, you go back a ways and you look at Star Trek, they planted seeds in humanity. All those things have come true, haven't they? So can we develop those magical skills, well, they look like magical skills to us now, but we've always known that we have certain gifts that have never been describable. We always know that we have telekinesis, where we can actually move things with our mind. We know people. I've done it. I actually have given a little course where we put this thing on this little spin. You put a big glass bowl over it so nothing can happen, and you try to move it. I've actually done it. Only once. I failed a lot of times too, but I've actually done it once. And we've taught people how to do those types of things. Those are things that don't fit in the norm. And this is all part of the spiritual realm, because we're much more powerful. We have those X-Men capabilities. We're just unfailing little pieces of it over and over again. Now, I can't turn over a car. I can't fly. I can't do the rest of it, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Erica. When we time travel, how do we know what dimension we might end up in?
Sometimes we don't. Time travel from the other side of the veil is very clear. You make contracts, you know where you're going, you know the process around it. Most of the time when people do a time traveling, we call it through the orthogonal matrix. You also do dimensional shifting through the orthogonal matrix. In other words, 90-degree angles is how everything is basically set up. But many times when you're actually trying to go somewhere, instead of saying, I want to go to 1923, you pick up a vibration or an incident that happened or something that you want to tie into and let that lead you back, rather than actually try to locate a specific time frame. It's much easier to basically, it's almost like a magnetic pull. That's what you want to do, rather than try to be mental about it and say, I want to go here and try to do all this stuff. It's much easier to do it the other way. Hope that helps.
All right, moving on here. Andromeda is asking, did they, the group, tell you which galaxy or galaxies they're from?
No, they didn't. They are universal beings. They actually say most of us have been around the different star systems over, again, we're energy, we never die. So we're always recycling in some way, not always on Earth. No, they've never mentioned it. There are so many. That's the key. We look in the sky and we used to think that those things were stars. Turns out many of those are galaxies. There are so many star systems. There are so many planets that have life. We know the ones that intercede with us. The group actually says there's 142, different races of ETs on this planet right now, living here. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of different things throughout it, but no, the group's never told me where they had their experiences of being a human or being whatever it was they were.
All right, let's move on to another one here. Let's go to Amy. Steve, if the brain can produce and release DMT on its own, do you think that could be why some people see certain beings, depending if it is being released at a given time?
It's possible. However, you see, we are creator beings, so we control a lot of these different aspects here. However, everybody does things differently. Let me take you back to the art of channeling for just a minute, because that might kind of help answer your question. There's basically 4 ways that we channel. There's a whole bunch of ways that you channel. You can actually channel through your nose if you go down the hallway and you smell grandpa's pipe that he used to smell and he died 5 years ago. So, but we don't actually consider that. So if you just took the main ones, you have clairvoyance. These are images, which is what you're talking about. Be able to see into other dimensions of time. So if you are clairvoyant, you're going to be that way. Even if you don't see it, you're going to describe it as an image. You're going to say, it looks like this, or I see it this way. A person who's clairaudient hears things. Now, these are both pretty easy to do because you can go back to the original vision, or you can go back to what you heard to kind of validate it. And then there's a person who's clairsentient, and that's people that just feel everything. And we're all getting that way, which is really frustrating because this planet is very dense right now. So it's hard. But clairsentient, the one that's the most common and the one that I am is called claircognizance. All of a sudden, I know something and I don't know where it came from. And that takes practice to trust that feeling, to be able to trust it, to be able to know which way to go. And I still make mistakes once in a while, but not very often. Not, it's like a practice. You have to learn. I consider myself a translator. So I have to learn how to translate. Kind of what it is. I'll learn how to trust it. Hope that answered it.
Let's move on to another one here. Let's go next to Pilgrim here. Steve, have you ever had an encounter with one of your doubles or doppelgangers? If so, what do you think happens?
I've not had an actual experience of meeting one or doing it. I have had extremely vivid dreams where I'm married to somebody else, and I had one daughter. I had two boys here. I mean, I was living a different life, and everything was different. The technology was different in the house. Everything was really odd. I didn't have enough time there. I didn't want to wake up. It was one of those things. So I have had that experience, but I haven't actually run into some. I can't say that I've actually run into a doppelganger. Great question, though.
I don't know how I'd react.
Yeah.
Let's go to Polly. Why can't we see other dimensions? Lack of brain training or to protect our souls somehow?
I think it's probably a little combination of both. I do. I think it's probably a little bit of both. We can train ourselves to channel, to see into other dimensions, or to hear, or to interact into other dimensions. But it takes practice. It takes an understanding of what it is. It takes, again, we're creator beings, so we have to have an image of where we're going, an idea of what that's about. So yeah. So a lot of it's lack of training, and also in the beginning, it was real simple. The whole idea was to have all these experiences separate from each other. That's what the group calls us. They said we're spirits pretending to be separate. So that's kind of what it looks like.
All right, let's moving on here. Let's go to Seymour. Do the group you have contact with agree that space-time is fundamental, or like others agree it's emergent?
It is an illusion that we have created here. We get the words right. It basically gives us a framework to put our experience into. They're finding this, they're starting to find out hints of this with the James Webb Telescope. They're discovering things, and the big question amongst many astrophysicists right now is time real? Because it's starting to look like there's evidence that there isn't. What the group says about it is, yes, it's real, but only right now. This is the only part that's real. The future is a potential. The past is a memory, and they can all change. This moment now is the only moment we have. So we have to learn how to live in that moment, which of course has been a spiritual principle for quite some time, not living in the future, not living in the past. But that's probably the biggest one I can tell you with, as far as the space-time continuum. And they're together, space and time are both together, but the group actually says that we're going to find out down the road that it's an illusion. And that is what will allow us to freely time travel in the fairly near future.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I hope we get to see it in my lifetime. Let's move on to another question. We got about 4 minutes to go and a couple more questions. Let's go to Luna. Would you agree that deja vu is proof we are multidimensional beings, that dreams act as a portal to access our future events and we live what we had dreamed of in the past?
Yes, 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 yes. All down the line. Yes, I agree with all of that. Yes. We basically, there's many reasons for dreams. I don't want to say that all dreams are moving you into other dimensions and experiences. We have dreams that reset our energy. We have energy balancing dreams. Those people that walk around with a big smile on your face, you have to big smile on your face all day. You have to please all your people that you're going to see, and everything. You're liable to have a nightmare at night, or find yourself swinging into somebody in the middle of the night to balance some of that energy. So there's different reasons we have dreams. Of course, we have pathetic dreams, and that can be developed. The hardest part about a pathetic dream is trusting it. It's like grounding it. So you get an image. It's something in the future. You don't ground it. You don't tell anybody. And then it happens. It's really frustrating. But if you ground it, you get better at it. You get more. It's almost like clearing the path, like learning to channel. So speak it. Absolutely.
2 minutes. Let's see if we can fit in one or two more. Let's go to Tony here. Steve, if we are a creator being, would we be classified as our own omnipotent life source?
Together we all are. Yes. That's what the group calls God. God to us is not an omnipotent being, but all of us together. And when we go home, we're all connected. So that's kind of the way they look at it. Yeah.
Final question from Jay. Can a person actually willingly go back in time to become their younger self again in their past to start a new timeline?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Time travel is still rarely done in our time frame. That's about to change as we start to combine all these other dimensions and start to lose the division between the dimensional walls. We'll put back a lot of that perfection that we have lost, and we'll start to see a lot of things are capable that we haven't done before. I do believe this is possible for all humans in the near future. I'm hoping within my lifetime too. We'll see.
We got about 1 minute to go here, my friend. And Steve, I want to say a big thank you for you coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. I got to admit, this has been a lot of fun, my friend. A lot of fun tonight.
I really enjoyed it. I love being able to put all these pieces together in a different way. It's magical. So thank you for having me out here.
Do me a favor. Take the next 30 seconds to tell everybody where they could find your information.
Sure. Steve Rother, ROTHER.org. We're a nonprofit. We do a monthly YouTube question and answer. We'll answer any question in live channel from the group. We'll be able to do that. We do all sorts of classes. Like I've mentioned several times, we have our Light Master class, which is our highest level. We also have other classes that we give every month under a different subject. Come join us.
That would be great. That would be great. You are amazing, Steve, and you are
Thank you, Dave.
a benefit to what we do. Thank you. SteveRother.org is his website. Coming up next, we have Swamp Dweller. Then Robin Haynes will be here for the Cryptid Q&A. We're going to have a lot of fun next in Hour 3.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Steve, great job tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
I hope you had some fun.
I did. This was great. I loved it.
Beautiful.
Now I got to go to sleep. I'm wide awake.
Well, good luck to you on
Thank you,
that.
buddy.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much for your time. We greatly appreciated it.
You bet. Thanks for having me on. We'll talk again.
See ya. Steve Rother, everybody. God, I love that guy. He's awesome. Just awesome. Definitely coming back. Definitely coming back. All right, I'll be right back, everybody. Hi, Robin.
Hi, sweetie. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Let's see if I can find something here. Just bear with me. Where was it? Oh, come on. Where are you? Yes, where did I put you now? Darn it. I don't know where I put it. Oh, crap. I think I closed it. Let me just see something here. See if that'll work. There we go. I'm trying to find a quick video here. See if I can play it. It's around here. That's the one. Holy cow. I got it right off the bat. All right. Go like that. Hopefully I can play it. Will it let me? No, it won't. Darn it. Ah, crap. All right. I'll try while we're talking to get this going. We got 10 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone, Monica, Creepypasta, and Kitty Cattywhack, as well as Amy and Erica for becoming members of our YouTube channel. Here comes the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what do you got for us, Clam? Let's check it on out. It is Sabulinarium. Yeah, Sabulinarium is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. My name is Adeline. I have 3 pretty scary experiences to share. I'll caveat this story by saying I think Australia is rather safe, and I think I've just been extremely unlucky. The first experience happened 11 years ago. I was around 16 years old. I was a pretty wild child and had quite a grown-up figure for my age, as my friends and I liked to dress up. My friend and I wanted to sneak into some clubs. The legal age is 18 here in Australia, as they didn't used to check ages at the door that much. We would then get guys to buy us drinks or whatever, as they typically checked your age at the bar. We did this almost every single weekend for quite some time, and nothing really ever happened. Then, one night in the middle of winter, we had this guy buy us some vodkas, and I have no memory from that point forward. I barely remember his appearance. He seemed like an average guy in his early 20s. I woke up freezing and coughing. I don't have a great memory of this, but I remember my eyes stinging from dust or sand. My mouth was so dry and full of dirt, and I was so cold. The cold where it seems to pierce your bones. I had the worst headache I'd ever had. I could barely move or open my eyes because of the pain. Eventually, I was able to sit up. It was just before dawn, and there was some light, but not too much. I started to freak out when I realized I was not entirely buried. There was about an inch of dirt on top of me. I still had my dress on, but no shoes. I couldn't think straight, but I knew something terrible must have happened. I must have been kidnapped. From what I could tell, I was somewhere in a rural area, and it was like a grazing paddock. I saw a road about 400 meters away, and a few cars driving down it. It took me ages to walk to the road. I was incredibly dizzy and kept losing my balance and landing on my knees, which were now pretty much cut up and bleeding. When I finally reached the road, I flagged down a car. I was so thankful they stopped. It was a young woman, and she seemed pretty freaked out by this bloody, dirty girl who had just stumbled onto the highway. She helped me into her passenger seat and draped her coat over me. At this point, I couldn't stop shivering, either from the cold or maybe I was just going into shock. She kept asking me questions like my name or what had happened, but I couldn't answer. After just a few minutes, I must have passed out again. I woke up some time later and the sun was now up. I could hear her talking on the phone with someone. She was saying how she had me. I was still unconscious, and she was close to the drop-off point, and she would wait for them. I freaked out. In my state, I thought she must have been taking me back to the kidnappers. I started screaming, which resulted in her crashing her car into a ditch. She stopped, opened the car door, and ran onto the road. She was trying to calm me down, but I was hysterical. Then from a distance, I saw red and blue lights. It was the police and an ambulance. That's who she was talking to. About 20 minutes in the ambulance later, I became a little more coherent. They told me I had been reported missing last night, and about 9 hours ago, this is when they started looking for me. When my friend couldn't find me in the club, she phoned my parents, and when the club had closed, they found my wallet and coat. They immediately acted on the missing persons report, as I was still a minor. The working theory is that I was drugged at the club and taken away. The doctors found no evidence that I had been interfered with. They thought maybe I had overdosed on a drug, or maybe the guy thought he had killed me or something. He must have freaked out and tried to quote-unquote hide the body. They think I laid in the shallow grave for most of the night. I'll never know exactly what happened, but the police opened an extensive investigation. I reviewed the security footage and sent round photos of the guy buying me a drink, but there was never any arrest. The scariest thing about this is that it started as just a regular night.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and we got literally thousands of stories right there for you. It's time for Robin. Robin Haynes is here for the Cryptid Q&A. She joins us weekly on this show, and we love it when she is here because it's always so much fun. Robin, welcome back.
Thank you. I love being here. You have the best audience. They're awesome. They always get some really good questions.
Well, I know we're going to get some tonight. I went out to Flight 21 earlier today.
Ooh, how'd it go?
We hadn't been up there in 3 weeks, and for people wondering why we haven't put any more videos of Secrets of the Forest up on our channel, on our YouTube channel recently, it's because Tim James is not feeling very well the last few weeks. He's had a long time ago, he had a brain injury due to too many concussions in sports and other activities, and it's really started to affect him recently. And so they've got him on a different type of medication right now that's trying to find the balance to help him out a little bit. So I was in the area today with a buddy of mine, Chris, and we were going into Flight 21. Everything was great. I picked up the trail cameras, and I'll tell you the story about the trail cameras in a minute here because that was pretty funny. But we walked over to the gifting site, and there was a couple things that I noticed right off the bat. When we walked in, immediately we got the skunk smell again. Walked up to the tree. So the skunk smell was about 25 feet from the tree. Walked up to the tree, and some items had moved. So what had moved? Well, the piece of jade had moved down about 5 inches in the tree from one location in the tree, at the bottom, where there's little gaps in the tree roots and everything. So we had it on one of those gaps up by the quartz. The jade is now about 5 inches down in another little area there. And it's been placed there because that's what it does. The hawk's feather had moved, and that was on the ground. Okay, so I can equate that to maybe a squirrel or a deer or weather knocking that down. Okay, I could get that. The ring that's there, that we have a sterling silver ring, that was on the ground as well. And I'm not sure if the whistle moved or not, because I forgot to take pictures last time, but it's the piece of jade that really kind of got to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, they like the earth stones. They like jade. They like crystals. They like all of those things. Those are a huge thing to them. Like that doesn't surprise me that would be the one thing that would get moved. I mean, not everything did, but I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I thought you would say that.
Yeah, they love that stuff. They really do. Now, I'm not an expert on the crystals and stuff, but what I will say is any type of a crystal, any type of a natural stone, jade. I mean, I used to live in Michigan and they were forever getting the Petoskey rocks with the patterns on them. They thought those were phenomenal, but they do. We had them we would find pieces of different kind of stone. You know, I had somebody that I knew that they brought her a piece of jade. She's out of Oklahoma, and they brought her jade. She said, there's no other place it could come. It was on my porch when I got up, and she has Sasquatch that comes up on the porch and plays on the porch quite a bit. And she has little figurines on the porch, and it was rearranging the figurines. It has like squirrels and deer and stuff, little statues, and it was constantly rearranging it, and it left her jade.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. And one of the things that I had noticed about that when Chris and I were walking out, the skunk smell was moving.
As it walks around following you. You probably had one that was cloaked there.
We figured.
Yeah. If it's the one that I'm thinking of, he would probably be, I want to say, in the mid-20s as far as age goes. 6'8", maybe like brownish color, hair with a little bit of a red hue to it, and it's shaggy. He's a little bit on the thinner side.
Yeah, so when we walked in to the area, because it kind of opens up, you got to go through this like wall of trees, and then it opens up, and that's usually where the skunk smell is, right in that opening. And when we came out, that area where the skunk smell was originally had dissipated. And then when we started walking back, we walked through the trees to get back on the trail to go back to what would be base camp where we park. That entire area was flooded with the skunk smell now.
He must be the one that keeps following the car. Because remember that one time, it was several weeks ago, and there was one that was following the car or had gotten in the car at some point.
Yeah, you were mentioning that had happened.
Yeah. Yeah, he stays right up there by the front. He might be a guard. Where they just kind of watch, and kind of report to the other ones when somebody comes into the area.
We knew the area that he was in. Okay, because it's funny because my buddy Chris, he's a very skeptical type person. And he's like, man, that feels like something's over in this direction. He's pointing to the northwest. And I'm like, to the opposite, we're heading southeast. This one's northwest. And I'm like, yeah, man, I said, that's where we are right now. I said, that's them. But
yep.
It was very interesting because, we were only up there maybe 15 minutes, and 15, maybe 20 minutes at maximum. And to all of a sudden have that skunk smell back, that was a little curious because that skunk smell hadn't been around in a few weeks.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think he guards it though, or if nothing else, he's there like a watcher to let everybody else know because he's there quite a bit.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
He seems friendly.
Now, here's where it got a little funny. Okay. So I picked up the trail cams. I brought them home tonight. And we're going to hopefully go out and play some. Hopefully, Tim is feeling better this coming weekend where we can make our way back out there. And if not, I'll try and figure out a way to get them back out there. And I pick up the trail cams, bring them home. And I wish I could show these videos. I just haven't figured out a way to bring them into. I got to get a one of those programs that makes videos into MP4s, so that way I could download them onto our video site. But it was kind of funny because in about 50 to 60% of the videos, I guess we put the camera by a rabbit hole because we had the cutest shots of this bunny rabbit running around in front of the camera. Nighttime, daytime, didn't matter. And at one point, he shoves his nose right in the camera, which is absolutely hilarious. It made me laugh. But here's the other funny part. Many people in our YouTube chat will know one of our people who chats in there named Danielle S. And that's what she goes by in our YouTube chat room. Well, she lives in my town. She lives just a couple of miles from me, to be honest, even though I don't know where she lives, but I know she's around this area. And all of a sudden on my trail cam, here's Danielle and her husband walking by. Well, I messaged her on Facebook Messenger tonight, and I'm like, were you at Flight 21? And it was a good laugh. It really was, because she's like, let's see, where did I put it here? I said, were you at Flight 21 with your hubby? She goes, yes, we were running out that way hunting, so we stopped in. Haha, I warned him not to take a pee anywhere because there may be trail cams. I go, LMFAO, I saw you. She goes, funny. I said, our trail cam caught you. She responds, you have them hidden good. Never saw one. I said, we had two out there. I said, I was like, wait, that's Danielle. She goes, oh, that's funny. Was a good day for sure. The leaves were changing. It was pretty. Found a lot of good hunting spots, not in that area. And that was the conversation. So it was kind of funny. And I was hoping to be able to play that. But on our other trail cam, now our radio audience will not be able to see these, but I took a couple of photos from our other trail cam because one was in still photo, one was in video motion. And I found it very interesting because these pictures were taken at night. And remember, there are no light sources out at Flight 21. You're in the middle of the forest. There's no light off in the distance, nothing. And we caught light in the trees. What's your thoughts on this, Robin?
Let me look at it. It could be the energy. If they're up in the trees, they're going to radiate in a frequency and energy that it'll lighten it up to begin with. So you've got that. It doesn't look like pure orbs, but it is lighter, almost like a mist, opposed to like a bright light. All that could be associated with the cryptids. It could also be associated with the spirits from Flight 21. I mean, you've got a lot that goes on out there.
We do. Now, the interesting part about it is, and I have a second photograph here, all of the other night pictures are dark. You cannot see any light at all through the camera. It's just a black screen. Now, you would be able, so we do have other photos that we could judge against. Here's the second photo that I'm putting up. And what you can't see it on radio, but it's like there is light coming down from the sky, lighting up a tree, and our game cam was able to catch this.
What I'm noticing too is I read energy signatures. There is so much energy coming out of that spot. It's like popping. Now you've got energy and frequency coming off of cryptids. You've got energy and frequency coming off of spirits. And you have a very well-known alien site. There is every reason to believe that there was a craft in the area, but I will say this, it is seemed to be secluded in that one area. Like the energy signature isn't anywhere else except right there where that mist is at. Normally, like they'll put a beam down from the ships and it's actually like a transporter. And that's not what that is. But that doesn't mean that it's not something from a craft, because that one area where that mist is at is just a huge energy source.
Yeah,
And in this picture where it's dark, it's not, the energy's gone. So clearly there was something there.
Yeah, and I think, and like I said, I have other photos that show the darkness. Okay, that maybe because something would obviously trip the camera to go off, and there is no flash bulb on the camera or anything like that. And
No, there was something there.
there had to be, and that's more than just a full moon night lighting that up. You know what I'm saying?
No, that was like a mist in one spot. And I don't mean a mist like fog or something like that. That was a paranormal type thing. See, it's right there. You can see it.
Yeah. It's very intriguing.
But when it's there, there's a huge energy that's coming from that. And it does look like it comes from above. But I will say this, you've got a lot of energy from a lot of different beings in that area that white mist is at. And you don't have that on the ground. You don't have it off to the side. It's all encompassed in that.
These photos on my end are timed, like time stamped.
Yeah.
And it is taken in the middle of the night.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And these photos were taken a couple days after we put the camera out.
That's a good picture because it really does look like it's coming from above. But like I said, you have so many paranormal things there. It could come from absolutely any one of them. But if you notice, there's a bottom to it. It doesn't go straight to the ground. It only comes down and it has a bottom to it. That's why I'm wondering if there's something within that, that because the energy pull in that is really strong. And when you look into the tree, and it could be just the way the branches are, I will say that, but it almost looks like there's a little bit, very slight, but a little bit of eye glow. Now, if you go up and over towards the trunk of the tree.
I don't see that.
I can see it on my end. And it's not glowing. It's just like a lighter piece that would come off of the shine of the eye.
I am not seeing that. Joe is asking in the chat room, is the camera anywhere near where you park your Jeep? Possibly somebody drove up there at night and those were headlights. No, the camera is about 75, 80 feet from the Jeep. And this would be in a different direction, pointed in a different direction.
That wouldn't explain the energy. Like it's all encompassed in that, almost like a giant bubble, because it doesn't go down to the ground.
It is weird.
It also looks, if you're looking directly at the tree, and again, this could be a shadow because there is so much residual energy from other things in that tree. Okay. But if you look directly at the tree on the left-hand side, there is a dark shape on it that's outside of the mist. And again, that could be just because it's so dark out, but there is energy from it.
Hold that thought. We are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We have Robin Haynes, our cryptid Q&A, taking us right to the top. This is Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Robin, we're clear.
I want to talk to you about this bunny for a minute.
1 second here first. You want to talk about the bunny?
Yeah, because there's a few things that aren't adding up with the bunny. Bunnies are food sources.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is in the area that you give them food at, you give them treats, you give them gifts or whatever. They obviously have eaten in that area before. It's not the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you put out cameras and they leave them alone, does not mean they aren't aware of it. They know because of the frequency that they emit. So they know those cameras are there. So you have a bunny in a spot that is well known for cryptids that should have been somebody's lunch by now, but is still there, quite happily there, going in and out of the hole and all around. And it's going up to your cameras. It's smiling for a picture.
Oh, I wish I could figure out how to get that video on here because
The thing of it is, Sasquatch are very well known for being able to get any animal in the woods to do whatever they want. Okay. They used to send red foxes to sit on my front porch. I was sitting out by my bonfire one night. I had 5 or 6 mice in a single line come out of the woods, come and sit in front of me, sit up on their hind legs, look at me, and then turn around and go back into the woods. They have literally sent wild deer up to me where they're close enough to touch. They have the ability to use mind control on every animal in the woods. They use them as pets. They use them as decoys. That's why they have the birds fly and watch you and use them as watchers. It is entirely possible, since they did not eat said rabbit, that is in their area that they're normally at. And we already know Mr. Skunk Man was in that area and he didn't go after the rabbit either. And they love to eat rabbits. It's very possible that they knew that camera was there and were playing with the rabbit to play with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rabbit went right up and looked in the lens. Just something to think about. It's a possibility. Because they can mentally manipulate every animal out there.
Definitely something to think about.
Well, they're capable of it.
It yeah, that rabbit, oh God, he was hilarious just watching it. I mean, one time you see him just absolutely like taking off as fast as possible. There's another one where he is you know, with another bunny. There was one where there was cows walking past.
Oh,
So that was
geez.
really cool.
Well, like I said, not everything is Sasquatch, but it is something to think about, because when they start looking in the lens like that and then they're hanging around and they're a normal food source. Now, how do you get wild cows?
They're free range cattle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're free range cattle. So they are they go out in the area and there's a lot of free range going on in our area. So and it's a good thing because they eat a lot of the dry grass, right? So
Yeah. Works out good.
oh yeah. Totally does. All right, we got about a minute to go here. About a minute to go. All right. Where are we here? There we are. Fun times. Hi, Ozzy Ange. How are you? Got about 18 seconds. Once again, I want to say a big thank you to Amy and Erica for becoming members of our YouTube channel, to Kitty, to Creepy, to Monica, to T-Bone, my man, and now to CS for our great super chats. Appreciate the love. Here we go. Here comes the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio as we've rounded third and we're heading for home. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. We got the cryptid Q&A with Robin Haynes going on right now. But before we bring Robin back in, want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here's Robin Haynes bringing her back in for the cryptid Q&A. And Robin, when I was out at Flight 21 today, I wanted to get your advice on this. I felt that we were at the point where it was maybe time to try a trail camera over by the gifting site. I know the Sasquatch aren't fans of trail cams. I know that the chances of us getting something out there, it might, do more harm than good. But I just got a strong sense out there that it was time. What's your thoughts on that?
I say follow your gut, because a lot of times people will say, my gut's telling me to do this or this. And actually what it is mind speak from something. And it could be them giving you mind speak, giving you permission to do it. There's a reason you're getting that. So in my personal opinion, yeah, it's a little bit risky, but I think you should try it. Now, I put a trail cam out one time where I was putting different things out for them. I went out the next day and they had buried the entire thing with brush. But that was the group I was working with. They thought it was funny. I ended up getting a picture on the camera of a thumb and a female's breast. That was the only thing I got. But if you're getting that, I say go for it. Worst case scenario is you're not going to get anything, or they will do something. They'll either zap it and kill the camera, they'll bury it like they did mine, or they'll do something with it. The worst they can do is get kind of pissy for a couple weeks where they may not want to come up to the gifting site. But if you're getting that, there's a reason you're getting it. Listen to your gut, because that is your first true reading. Okay. Our brains are third dimensional. Our bodies are third dimensional. When we get information to our brains, it's got a process. When you get a gut reaction like that, that's going through the consciousness, the collective. That's going through your frequency. That's not coming to the brain, because there's a lag time between when you get it with your body and your consciousness till it goes to the brain. So the truest reading you're ever going to get on information given to you, good or bad, is going to be when you get it right away, out of nowhere, for no specific reason. You haven't thought about it. So I say go for it. If it doesn't work, okay, it didn't work. But you should always go with that first instinct, because it's the truest reading that you will get.
Okay, so if we do that, how long should we leave it out? Because obviously a 1 month, or pardon me, a 1 week test isn't going to do anything.
No,
And
I would kind of,
should we let them know that that's what we are doing?
yeah, I would talk to them and say, this isn't going to hurt you. This isn't for everybody. This is just so I can see what other animals come in and out of here. And I can see who's there. I want to be your friend. I want to gift you things. I want to make sure you enjoy what I'm gifting you. They are not friends of cameras. They don't, because they believe it steals their soul. However, if they cloak, which is what they will do if they think there's a camera around, they are so busy using their frequency and energy to cloak that you sometimes can get them in the physical on a camera. So what I would tell you to do for your best result, for their peace of mind, as well as to get something, is do not make the gifting site the center of the picture. Okay. So like you're going to put that maybe on the left or the right side of the lens or in that frame. So it's going to look like you don't have it poised directly on them, which will make them less nervous. It'll look like maybe you're looking at whatever's over 2 to 3 feet from that gifting site. So you're going to put that in the outside of the frame. That's the part that you want to capture. It will look like it's going a different direction. They won't feel like there's so much under scrutiny. They don't want they believe, like I said, Native American tradition, that lens steals their soul. And they will tell you that if you ask them. They are afraid that, their soul will be taken. So when you offset it like that, it gives them a little bit of comfort in a situation that they're not entirely comfortable with. And quite honestly, if they are off center, they can't mess with it they still can, but not as badly. So if they are cloaked, you have a better chance of getting them. It may not be that money shot, but it will be a shot, and you may not get the money shot you want with them right in the middle. And that goes with, their comfort as well as yours. But I would do it for, a couple weeks. They may back off a little bit at first. It's something new. It's going to emit a frequency. Everything does. So they've got to get used to that frequency. Put things around it they're familiar with. If there's a certain scent, like let's say you wear a certain cologne and they're used to you wearing it, put that around it. If not, just leave it alone. Don't do the whole I'm going to hide it thing, because they know that it's hidden. You can put brush around it. You can nestle it in against a tree. You can nestle it into the brush, but don't do the whole covering it up, because honestly, they know to them that feels like a trap. It doesn't have to be sticking out like a sore thumb, but also don't treat them like they're stupid, because they're going to know it's there anyway.
Question coming from Pilgrim for you. Robin, tell us your biggest secret or close to it. Something so crazy you didn't tell anyone. I'm going to assume that has to do with the phenomena, because we're not going to make it personal.
Yeah, I'm pretty open about everything that goes on with them. As far as the biggest secrets, this rabbit hole that you go down when you're learning about them is so much deeper than anybody ever imagined. Like there's things that I've experienced with them that if I told people, they'd want me put in an institution. I've had witnesses to all of these things. I don't really have one great big secret. They used to walk up to me in the woods and play with my hair. They'd come up behind me and I would turn, there'd be nobody there. Then I'd hear laughter and they'd play with my hair, or my hair would get lifted up. I was in Colorado one time and they were on the ridge of the mountain. I was at a lodge and they wanted me to come out and go up on this ridge. I'm like, I can't get there and it's dark out. I'm not going up there. So I'm laying in bed. I felt the energy of one coming into the room. Next thing I know, I feel these giant hands around my waist. I'm wide awake. I'm laying on the bed watching TV and I'm literally being lifted up by my waist off the bed. And all I can see is the shimmer of a Sasquatch next to the bed. And I kept saying, put me down. And it just completely ignored me until I got mad. And then it dropped me. I literally was dropped onto the bed. It never was trying to hurt me. I didn't feel anything bad off of it. But yeah, I've had some really weird things done. Really weird things. I was laying in bed the other night and I felt something grab my thigh. Not hard, not rough, but it was there. And I was watching TV. I look over and all I see is this big dark shape, and it goes running through the wall. They go into spirit form. They can go in and out of anything they want. But I don't have any really big, gigantic secrets. I'm pretty open about a lot of it. The only things that I'm not open about is information that they've taught me about their ways that I feel could be used to harm them in any way. And that'll go with me to my grave.
Last night we had Lon Strickler on from phantomsandmonsters.com. and we were talking about the Glimmer Man.
Hmm.
Do you think there is a relationship between what people perceive as the Glimmer Man and Sasquatch camouflaging themselves?
I don't believe they're the same thing. What I do believe is a lot of these paranormal entities do have the same kind of abilities. Okay. And because they all, in order to have abilities, you have to have a high frequency. That's what I teach in my classes. Everybody has abilities. Everybody can tap into abilities. They just have to know how to get their frequency up high enough to do it. So when it comes to all these entities, they are already basically a higher frequency than we'll ever hope to be. When they go to do the shimmer, which is basically what the Glimmer Man does, they vibrate, which is their frequency, at a certain level to be able to do it. They don't completely bend the light so that they can't be seen and they go transparent. That's a full cloaking. So they're somewhere in the middle between being in a physical form and that. Now, my understanding with Glimmer Man, he's a little bit shinier. We also have what's called a light beam. I've not seen personally Glimmer Man, or if I have, I didn't know that's what he was called. I've seen Light Man, and that looks like a humanoid figure that glows, and it looks like a bright white light. But the shimmer that a cryptid does is similar to what I've heard people talk about Glimmer Man. But again, I do not think that they are related in any way, shape, or form, in my personal opinion. But I do believe that because these entities all share similar abilities, that would be how it does it.
Very interesting. Let's go to Jules here. And Jules is asking, what is the difference between poltergeist type activity in the woods and actual Sasquatch cloaked activity?
A poltergeist, again, this is my opinion, guys. I have not studied with anybody. I don't learn off the books. I learn from the cryptids. I learn from the spirits. I learn from angels, Earthkeeper, that kind of thing. Okay. So a poltergeist, as you're talking about, more of a spirit or an entity that at one time probably would have been alive. Now, I could be wrong on this, but this is my interpretation of it. They pull energy. A poltergeist will pull energy from surrounding things to manifest, whether it is to move something or become physical. They have to pull energy from an outside force to be able to do it. When you're looking at a Sasquatch that cloaks, they already are a high frequency. So they pull the energy and the frequency from their own body, and that frequency is a vibration. So they vibrate fast enough so that they bend the light around them. If they don't want to completely cloak, then they don't vibrate as quickly, and that's when you get the shimmer. But where a poltergeist is going to pull that outside activity, that's why when a spirit is around, sometimes you'll see the lights will flicker or it will get cold in the room because they're pulling the energy and the frequency from it to be able to manifest so that they can either move something or try to become more in a physical or a being where you can see them. Where the Sasquatch, they don't have to pull it. They create it themselves, just like we can. We all can do that.
I love it. I love that thinking. We got about 7.5 minutes before we have to call it the show tonight. Robin Haynes is our guest tonight as she comes in weekly for the cryptid Q&A.
Everybody can do the frequency stuff, okay? We have all been led to believe that we don't have abilities, that we can't mind speak, we can't do any of these things. Now, we may not be able to do them at the level that the cryptids can do or a spirit can do, but we are not powerless. We have to learn, and our planet is going into a higher frequency. We've got to go with it. We have got to learn how to pull the frequency and energy within our own bodies. And once you do that, not only do you get clarity, you get balance, because we're never meant to be in just the 3D world. We're supposed to be 1 foot in the third dimension and 1 foot in the paranormal spectrum. So you get balance, you get clarity. And when you get that and you have that higher frequency, what abilities you have, and everybody has some, maybe different levels of it, but everybody has them, as well as the mind speak. And when that frequency gets high enough, that's when you tap into them.
The idea that a lot of these creatures could be multidimensional, because we were
Mhm.
talking multidimensional earlier with Steve Rother. Do you believe that there is their ability, or they have the ability to cross over in dimensions?
Absolutely. I've watched them walk in and out of portals. I've watched them take my cat into portals. They took a German Shepherd we had into a portal. Yeah, and top of the fact that they've taught me how to open and close the portals, as well as create a rift and open and close the rifts, or create a portal. Yeah, they absolutely are. And if you look at the Sasquatch that use the portals, because it's a higher frequency inside the portals. That's why for our people in a third dimensional body, it is dangerous. Not that, a person, there's been people that have gone through portals. I went through one time, but it's a higher frequency. So it's more damaging to our third dimensional physical bodies than it is theirs. But that high frequency, what people don't realize, that higher frequency heals. It kills diseases. It gives them a longevity to their life. I've seen some that are over 1,000 years old. And then you see the Sasquatch that particular clan, the leader of that clan, does not allow the usage of the paranormal abilities other than mind speak. And they die at the same age that our humans do, because they're not a higher frequency. Frequency kills diseases. It restores the cells in the body back where they need to be. This is how they access their abilities. This is how they stay healthier. I do healing work on them. I have for years. How do I heal them? Because I use the frequency and the energy out of my body. I push it into theirs. I manifest what needs to be done, and it works. It combines my frequency with theirs. When they're going through these portals in these higher frequencies, that's how they get to all these different dimensions. The world truly is a matrix. It's made of multiple planes and dimensions. And all of these paranormal entities or cryptids, elementals, dimensionals, they all go through them. I've seen it a number of times. I've had people out in the woods with me, and I was showing them a structure. And I said, put your hand under this part of it. You're going to feel an energy flux. And he said, okay, can I videotape you explaining it? And I said, absolutely, because they use energy when making the structures. And as he was filming me, a dimensional went out of that energy flux, and he got it on camera.
That's amazing.
It's all
Absolutely.
frequency and energy, guys. Everything.
Blue Cruz is asking, is there a particular reason why an individual Sasquatch clan would refuse to use their supernatural abilities, such as going through a portal, as opposed to other physically walking from one to another?
Yeah, some of them are really, it's funny, because for the longest time I couldn't understand why they wouldn't want to use them. But the best way I could relate it to you is look at the Amish people. Okay. They have treaties with Sasquatch, but they're beautiful people. They really are. However, they choose to go away from the modern technology. And depending on which sector is whether or not they have any electricity or not, they choose to live that lifestyle. We have to remember, Sasquatch is a people, not our kind of people, but it is a type of ancient people. You have some that do not want to be with what we would consider the modern ways, which is using the paranormal abilities. People assume just because they are Sasquatch, they already know that they have abilities. They do not. They learn them from their parents. And if their parents are in a clan that leader of the clan does not want them to have access to their abilities, it could be they don't want them to have that power. They want only the leader to have it. It could be they want to be old school so that they're off radar, so that they aren't picked up as much. They're not as flashy and everybody's not noticing them. They can kind of blend in with the scenery more. If they don't teach their children, then they don't know. They have the children of the Sasquatch have no idea that they can do portals. They have no idea that they can cloak. They have no idea about anything except what they are allowed to be taught.
Hmm. 2 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you in another episode of the Cryptid Q&A that's racing on by. For people who may be skeptical of everything that you have said tonight, okay, regarding these creatures.
Mhm.
What would you want the skeptic to know? Take it down to its basic form. What would you want the skeptic to know about these creatures?
This is what I tell everybody. The DNA proves they are 3% human. They are a human hybrid. If you are around them enough, you can see this. I don't expect everybody to believe everything I say. And in this industry, there's a lot of people that fake it. I can go to my grave knowing, and God knows I haven't lied about anything. So I'm good. I'm fine with that. I don't force my beliefs and opinions on anybody. I think everybody comes to it in their own time. Unfortunately, we are kind of pushed on that timeline because the world is shifting to a higher frequency. And with it, all of these things are going to come along with it. So it's a matter of they have to get down to the basics. They have to open their mind and their heart, and they will start experiencing things. I work with clients every day that say, I can't believe this is real. And then they do the practices where they experience a frequency change and they start seeing it and they start interacting. So I tell everybody, if you don't want to believe it, that's okay. It doesn't offend me at all. These are my experiences. I have witnesses to them. I have photos of it. So I'm good. But at some point, I wish for them that they were able to have the experiences I have. And while they don't believe it, I'll be out in the backyard playing with the Sasquatch. So I'm good.
I love it. Robin Haynes, it is always a great time to have you on Spaced Out Radio. We got 20 seconds. Tell everybody where they could find your work.
Okay. If anybody wants to sign up for classes or anything, you can find me at www.paranormal-empowerment.com. If you just need to get hold of me, I'm on Facebook under Robin Haynes, Haynes, no middle initial, and I answer everybody.
Yeah, you do. You're one of the best, Robin. Thank you so much for coming on this show as we say goodnight to Robin and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. All right. Robin, do you have a couple minutes or do you got to run off?
Oh, no, I'm good.
All right. I'm going to get going here because I just got to ask Robin a couple questions. But thank you tonight to CS, Kitty Caddywhack, Creepypasta, Monica, and T-Bone for the great super chats. And a big thank you to Ozzy Ange, Erica Stover, and Amy for joining our YouTube membership. Tomorrow night on the show, we have another Stephen and Evan Strong, our alien ancestry, tomorrow night on the show. We will see you at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Tell a friend, share the show. We're going to have some fun. Talk to you soon, everybody. Robin, hold on. Okay.
Sure will.
And good night, everybody.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.